Welcome. Take It Up with Jessica Lee. I'm here with Annie Wu, who's the VP of Customer Success at Procore. Hi, Annie. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Jessica. It's great to be here. Thanks for taking the time with me today.
Oh, thank you for being on the show to talk about your company, Procore, how you help construction teams be more efficient, and talk to us about some of the trends, because I know construction is hit big time right now, especially those big offices where people are no longer and in the office. And so, yes, come on, tell us,
Yeah.
how does your company help construction companies?
So the best way I like to frame it up for folks who aren't in the industry is there's a lot of common sense about construction because we all live in a constructed world. We live in homes, we go to work in concrete boxes, not in a pandemic. Right now we're doing that at home too. We drive on roads, we get fresh water. The world in which we live in is constructed and designed for our benefit and for our safety and a greater quality of life. And if you think about just the complexity of all of that, there's a lot of pieces in construction. There's a lot of people involved from many different trades, project managers, architects, specialty contractors, your general contractors. It takes a lot of people to bring a project from start to finish. And so having a technology that really helps improve the communication between all of those folks, helps projects get done faster, better, and safer. And that's really what Procore is driven to do through the technology they deliver to construction sites. It's a project management software.
I think a lot of people are stuck at home, and so there's a lot of DIY home improvement projects going on.
Yes.
I know that at Home Depot, I'm there weekly, and so many people in the neighborhood are doing projects. So people do understand the challenges when you want to improve a home, what it takes. But usually when you're working with companies that are building this, you're talking about that multi-million-dollar project, right? A lot of different subcontractors working together.
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of inefficiencies.
Yes. Yes. If you have a huge skyscraper going up and you've got designs for every single floor on there and the plumbing is done wrong, you got to rip all that material out. You've got to redo it. Not only are you wasting materials, you're wasting time. That project gets further behind and the profit margins keep shrinking. Right? You've got to finish on time and on budget in order to have a good profit at the end of that project. And it's a challenge for sure. And so shoring up that communication, ensuring everyone's working from the most updated set of drawings, that they understand which materials they're supposed to be ordering and using and where it goes is super important, especially in those huge projects. And you think back, like these skyscrapers went up with paper, right? I mean, it's just mind-boggling to me that some of these buildings that have been around for a long time went up on a set of paper drawings, and you see those big trailers on job sites, and those be full of binders and late nights, and it's just a lot of work and a lot of communication. Walking around a job site with your camera and with your notepad, jotting down, different things that maybe need to get fixed or redone. That's so much time, and so Procore really looks to leverage technology to reduce the timeline on those things and get everyone working off of the same set of drawings, the same plans. There's just a huge amount of opportunity for us to give, I would say, even just give back to the construction industry. We benefit so much from it, and it's really exciting to be on the side of technology looking to see, well, how can we improve your lives? How can we get you more time with your family? You're doing all this for us. What can we do for you? And it's a really exciting industry to be a part of.
And I know that there's a lot of new innovation.
Yes.
Augmented reality, automated dogs that walk around to record job sites. So you're probably partnering up with a lot of these technology players to help the clients, yes?
Yeah, there's a lot of innovation going on the construction job site. We do have one customer that's working with the company that produced Boston that does the dogs that walks the job sites. They're testing those out. I wouldn't say that stuff like that is full-fledged adoption, but we are seeing a lot of people play around with that, especially amidst the pandemic where you cannot have a whole bunch of people on a job site. So you've got to get creative about how you're going to monitor the progress of those job sites. So leveraging even if it's a creepy dog. I mean, those things freak me out. I'm sure some people think they're really cool, but
right, the robotic dogs.
it's strange, but it is really cool in that they can stop and take pictures. They can help people understand how progress is coming along on these different jobs. Augmented reality is really fascinating in that, you can put on a pair of augmented reality glasses and you can look around an unfinished job site and leverage your design, your drawings to see, well, what's behind that wall? What should be behind that wall? What should go here? What's it going to look like when it's finished? And giving that view, not only for your project managers and your superintendents and the people who really need to monitor the progress, but even to like the customer. A neighbor is an architect, working on the UT Stadium, and to be able to give his customers a view of what it's going to be like from their customer's perspective. I mean, he showed me some of these 3D walkthroughs he's done for customers where he's driving down the street as a, potential game goer and coming into the stadium, and what does that look like? And what does this locker room look like down to the finest detail? That's all enabled by technology. And it's really cool to see that sort of vision come to life for the construction industry. We do integrate with some of it. Probably the biggest thing we've probably seen is the forcing function that COVID has had in getting our customers to leverage our own tools and to really rely more on, instead of going through and doing a punch list in the old way, even though you have this technology, like getting people who are on the job site to take pictures, upload it into the app, ask a question, have someone else respond to that. They're really seeing the value of Procore. So I think with anything, and it's especially in our industry and a lot of industries, we look at challenges like this in terms of how can it make us better. It's hard, but there's also an opportunity within this problem to become better.
Now, you manage a team of over 100 people doing customer success. A lot of that is helping clients to understand how they can use the product to achieve their objectives, right? And I'm curious about the approach, because I think you said that you approach it with, first of all, what does the customer want to do? And then from what their goals are, then you help them how to use the technology to achieve that. Is that right?
That's correct. I mean, it's not just about how well you can sell and get someone to want to try what you're offering. It's about positioning it in a way that is curious about their business. What problems are they encountering? What problems are most important for them to solve? Do they need to increase their revenue, reduce their costs, reduce their risk? I mean, generally things would fall into those three buckets. Dig into that, explore that. What, do you have job site injuries? Are those too high? Is it creating a negative culture as a result? So let's talk about that first. Let's really make sure we understand what you're trying to solve for. Then we're going to back into our product or maybe a partner product that would help to solve that for them. And that's really what customer success is. It's trying to unpack the outcomes that a customer is trying to achieve for their business, back into it with your solution. And then you've got a customer for life. Now you're really solving the problems that are most important for them. And then you all win. But you've got to start with that customer approach and start with them and their story.
Annie, I know that customer success is helping clients, but there's a cost to helping clients. So how do you balance providing that superior CX while making sure you still keep costs effective?
This is a challenge, especially when you get into the SMB market. And we all need the SMB. I mean, first of all, they're 50% of our GDP. They're 99% of the private sector. As a whole, it's a huge opportunity. And not only when you're in SaaS, it's not just about can you be profitable, it's can you grow. You need that SMB market to be able to grow, to show that people are willing to buy your solution and implement it in their business. And that small, medium business, they're easier to sell to. They're harder sometimes to get to adopt, and they're much churnier. They're gonna, maybe they just stop paying you right? They don't even finish their contract and you go after them for that collections and you just never get it. So there's things like that that go on, or they don't renew after the first year. So I really like to approach it holistically and not just in terms of, well, what's my gross retention and what's my net retention, which are always the two biggest metrics within customer success, but what are my margins? Because maybe I can figure out a cost-effective way to deliver this experience that reduces the cost of acquisition. And if I do that, well, my break-even point gets closer. Maybe now, instead of it being 12 months out from the original contract date, it's 6 months. And so I can withstand some of that higher churn that is more prevalent in the small, medium business space and figure out ways to make them stickier. So I always like to I approach it that way, like, how can I buy some time and then figure this out? And I'm a big fan of hypothesizing. We do this quite a bit, where you're going to form an assumption, you're going to test it, you're going to iterate, and you're going to repeat that. And by doing that small scale testing, you're going to figure out which things work. You're going to figure out which data drives what outcome. So for example, we were able to identify through product usage and other triggers when a customer was likely to cancel or was not likely to renew their contract. So when we notice those triggers starting to happen, we do an outreach attempt first through email, because if you can get people in that way through that tech touch, it's cheaper than having people in seats dialing. To do a business review. Let's talk about, it looks like you're struggling to adopt this purchase. We want you to get the value out of what you've invested in. Let's have a conversation. And so then we would measure the outcome of those business reviews. Of those business reviews, how much time do we spend on it, which you can equate to cost. And then what was the outcome of that? So you kind of get your ROI of that activity. And throughout the process, you also figure out, well, if we did this shorter, do you think if we took this part out that not a lot of people seem engaged with on the call, we could take that business review from 40 minutes to 30 minutes, save us some time, and still get the same outcome? So we do a lot of experimenting in that way, combining different types of touch points through email, figuring out when we really need to engage on that human touch, and then validating, did that move the needle or not? Because if you're going to spend that time, especially in SME, doing all that human touch, and then it doesn't drive an outcome for the customer or for your business, it's a big waste of money. And every one of those interactions adds up.
What's another way to help drive margin while giving good customer experience?
I also like to look at which teams are delivering which service, and where there's overlap, can we reduce that maybe by blending our teams together or sharing that workload. And we've done a lot of creative things to try to get other teams to support that customer experience holistically and give us a little bit more flexibility in our headcount models. So for example, there are certain cases that come in through on we call it our SMB team, or our emerging space, those customers that are really in growth mode but smaller. We get cases sometimes that come through that, this isn't that so far off of maybe what a support person might see. Can we leverage some of those resources to help monitor our cases? And we use Salesforce and a feature called Omni that helps route cases automatically. So we can assign different cases across different functions. And that's a great way to think about customer success, especially on a smaller scale when you really are more cognizant of the costs that you're investing, to say, it doesn't just have to be customer success doing this. What other teams are able to fulfill this gap that we have and help us out?
Those are great tips. Thanks for sharing that. I know it's a tough time though for a lot of your clients. I mean, some areas are doing well, but construction for big office buildings is kind of on pause right now. Mm-hmm. So, well, what do you see, and what are you looking forward to do next year?
We are in a state of change. We see an incomplete picture. Right now, it's hard to see past the current circumstance of we're all at home, and is this ever going to end? Are we ever going to be back in the office? And we're seeing really big companies out there, Twitter and Facebook and others say, you know what, we're just not going to go back to the office. We're going to have this permanent remote workforce. And in one hand, it's cool because it is taking into consideration your employees and how they can have a more engaged, balanced life. And I've enjoyed being at home, right? I can walk out of my office and have dinner. I was telling my husband, this is the first time I think we've had dinner every night together as a family ever. And, my oldest is 8. So there are clear benefits to that. There's also some very clear drawbacks. We see some isolation. We see people maybe not connecting as well as they can. The Zoom fatigue is real. I'm just tired of seeing people on video. I just want to see you in front of me and feel your energy and see you in the flesh. And there's so much about just humanity that thrives on that connection. So we don't really know where it's going to end. Buildings and offices, I think, will always be a part of our professional life. Maybe less so. Maybe it's not every day. Maybe it's more of a collaborative workspace that's shared. So, we're really waiting to see what the industry wants. What do people want? What experiences do they want for their employees? And I have no doubt that the construction industry will innovate and they'll figure out how to do things better. We all feel really hopeful that things will get back, that it will grow. It may look different, but there's enough signs out there that we think there's still a lot of growth and opportunity for this industry.
Great. Yes, we must be optimistic, and I agree with you. I mean, there's definitely a lot of benefits to working from home. I've enjoyed it a lot too.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think we do want to go back to that human interaction. It's a matter of when, right? It's just really when. So thank you so much, Annie, for being on the show to talk about your company's technology.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was really fun. Thank you.
There you have it. Check it out with Jessica Lee, Annie Wu from Procore.